You might think the richest and most powerful people in Barbados are men in suits, shaking hands in government buildings or running corporations from glass towers. But you'd be wrong. Because behind the scenes, a quiet force of black women, wives, CEOs, diplomats, dealmakers, are the ones who truly control the flow of money, law, and legacy across the island. They don't boast. They don't flash. But when they move, entire industries shift. From tourism powerhouses who decide which flights land where, to banking executives who choose which businesses get funded, to the network queens keeping Barbados digitally alive through every storm. These women aren't just rich, they're respected, strategic, and quietly unstoppable. And today, we're revealing the 10 richest black wives in Barbados who don't just support power, they are power. And trust me, you won't believe who sits at number 3. Let's get into it. She never saw the world, not in the way most of us do. At just 6 years old, Karen Eiffel went blind overnight. But instead of falling behind, she did something Barbados had never seen before. She rose to the top of the nation's legislative branch. Karen didn't marry into power, she became it. As the first wife to serve as president of the Senate, and the first person with a disability to ever hold that seat, she shattered expectations. And once she took the chair, the chaos stopped. No theatrics. No games. No dragging of feet. Under her leadership, debates stayed sharp, votes moved efficiently, and every bill was treated with dignity. What seemed procedural on the surface? That was real control, the kind of control that quietly shapes the future of an entire country. But her power doesn't end in Parliament. Karen is a tireless advocate for accessibility and justice, pushing for changes most people never think about, but thousands desperately need. Wheelchair ramps in public spaces. Transit stops that work for everyone. Websites that don't shut out the visually impaired. She doesn't just speak change. She builds it. Her work earned her the Order of Freedom of Barbados, the nation's highest honor. And internationally, her voice echoes on human rights panels and disability commissions. When she picks up the phone, people in power answer, not out of fear, but out of respect. Karen Eiffel doesn't flex with cars or cash. Her wealth is measured in influence, integrity, and legacy. She doesn't need to be loud, because she already controls the volume of the room. But if you think that's groundbreaking, wait until you meet the next woman on our list. Because she took diplomacy and turned it into global dominance. Before she ever stood on the world stage, Maxine McLean was a quiet force in the classroom. A university lecturer in public policy and management, she didn't just teach theories, she taught students how to challenge power with intelligence and strategy. But Maxine didn't stay behind a podium. She stepped into politics and quickly became Barbados's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and from that moment on, the world took notice. She wasn't loud. She wasn't flashy. But when Maxine walked into a room, whether it was the United Nations, the World Trade Organization, or a high-stakes summit, diplomats paused. Because they knew what was coming: clarity, precision, and purpose. She didn't beg for handouts. She demanded respect for small island nations like Barbados, arguing they didn't need charity, they needed partnership. And she made that case with such elegance and logic, even the biggest players in global trade had to listen. At home, she earned a different kind of power, the public's trust. Because unlike so many politicians, Maxine didn't make promises she couldn't keep. She told the truth, broke down the most complicated trade deals into everyday language, and left the drama at the door. Her interviews were masterclasses. She'd take intimidating economic topics and make them understandable to farmers, entrepreneurs, and high school students. Because real power isn't how much you know, it's how well you can explain it to others. Maxine McLean didn't need to be on every billboard. Her wealth was in her credibility, and in diplomacy, that's everything. It's what gets meetings. It's what earns votes. And it's what makes one woman from Barbados a global heavyweight in a world of giants. But now, let's shift gears. Because the next wife on this list didn't just earn respect, she turned culture into cash, and festivals into economic engines. When most people think of tourism in Barbados, they picture beaches, palm trees, and sunny skies. But if you've ever heard the rhythmic thunder of crop over, if you've danced to soca, felt the heartbeat of the island through music, color, and parade, then you've already felt Carol Roberts-Reifer's power. As the Chief Executive Officer of the National Cultural Foundation, Carol doesn't just organize events. She orchestrates an entire economy. Because every stage she builds, every costume parade she approves, every beat that echoes through Bridgetown, means jobs for taxi drivers, costume designers, vendors, bartenders, musicians, and filmmakers. When crop over hits right, millions in revenue flow through the island. And Carol? She's the invisible conductor behind it all. She doesn't chase headlines. She chases execution. Events start on time. Vendors get support. Tourists get the experience they paid for, and more. Because Carol knows, if Barbados feels right, people come back. But she's not just about big parties. Carol fights for the little guy, emerging artists, creatives, and cultural workers who need fair contracts, training, and grants. She doesn't just celebrate talent. She funds it, protects it, and builds it into industries. Her wealth isn't in yachts or designer handbags. It's in the way she transforms art into income, and vibes into viable careers. When tourists say, "A Barbados changed me," it's often because Carol shaped the moment they'll never forget. And when the cameras cut, the festivals end, and the music fades, it's Carol's planning, her discipline, and her vision that keep the country's cultural heart beating. But if you think entertainment is just for show, wait until you meet the wife who turned exports and logistics into a pipeline of global money for Barbados. You've seen her face in trade expos from Miami to London, but you probably didn't know her name. That's because Sandra Husbands isn't chasing fame. She's chasing foreign dollars, and bringing them back to Barbados. As the Minister of State, Sandra holds a role most people overlook, but without her, Barbadian businesses wouldn't survive past the shoreline. She's the engine behind the island's export strategy, the woman who sits down with government reps, shipping magnates, customs officials, and international buyers, and makes the deals no one else dares to attempt. Small businesses on the island? They're dreaming of shipping their sauces, skincare, or spices across borders. But Sandra is the one who tells them the hard truth. Your packaging is weak. Your labels won't clear customs. Your supply chain isn't reliable. But don't worry, I'm going to show you how to fix it. She doesn't just identify problems. She builds solutions, restructures systems, and rewrites how trade works for an island that's often overlooked on the global stage. In her feature with Business Barbados, Sandra laid it out plainly: if we want to compete, we have to be disciplined. And that's what makes her different. She's not a politician who disappears after the ribbon cutting. She follows through. She mentors. She helps entrepreneurs level up. Her wealth, it's not in beachfront villas or flashy photo shoots. It's in the millions of dollars now flowing into Barbados through smarter trade, bigger deals, and real market access. Every container shipped, every export contract signed, every student who dreams of scaling a local brand. They're all walking a road Sandra helped pave. But if you think her influence is impressive, just wait. Because the next wife on our list doesn't just move goods. She moves capital. And if she says no, entire empires collapse. She doesn't need a microphone. She doesn't need a viral moment. Because when Donna Wellington speaks, entire industries listen. As one of Barbados's most powerful banking executives, Donna holds a quiet authority that most people never see, but always feel. From hotels and housing developments, to small business loans and national infrastructure. Her signature can greenlight a dream, or bury it permanently. In a region where credit once felt like a secret handshake reserved for a select few, Donna did something radical. She demanded transparency, disciplined planning, and fair access. She's known across the Eastern Caribbean for her no-nonsense leadership style. Bring her a pitch with shaky projections? She'll send it back. Try to gloss over debt risk? She'll flag it instantly. But if you've done your homework, she'll back you all the way. Donna isn't just managing money. She's managing futures. Every loan she approves becomes a story. A school gets built. A restaurant expands. A local brand opens its second location. She also played a major role in standardizing the rules of lending, ensuring all banks in the region follow fair, consistent criteria. No more guesswork. No more connections over character. Under her influence, Barbados's financial system became cleaner, faster, and smarter. But her reach goes deeper. Donna funds financial literacy clinics, teaching first-time entrepreneurs how to survive dry seasons, manage growth, and avoid drowning in debt. Because to her, wealth isn't just about profit, it's about empowerment. Her legacy isn't just measured in numbers, it's measured in stable families, employed workers, and strong communities. You won't find her flashing a luxury lifestyle. But you'll find her fingerprints on every thriving district in Barbados. From boardrooms to backstreets, her influence is quiet, but unmatched. And if you think money is the island's heartbeat, wait until you meet the next woman. The one who sells Barbados to the world and keeps billions flowing in year after year. She doesn't run ads. She runs the country's image. As the Chief Executive Officer of Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, Andrea Franklin holds the keys to the island's biggest source of revenue, tourism. Every vacation package, every airline deal, every glowing magazine spread about Barbados? She's behind it. Andrea doesn't just manage marketing. She manages perception, the way Barbados is viewed in New York boardrooms, London airports, and Berlin booking sites. And in a global tourism race, perception is everything. She tracks data like a scientist. Which flights are filling, which countries are cooling, what travelers are saying in their reviews, and what destinations Barbados is competing against this quarter. But she balances that hard data with surgical storytelling. Not hype. Not overpromising. Just trust. That trust builds repeat business. Families come back. Airlines increase flights. And investors pay attention. Andrea doesn't just woo travelers, she secures deals with airlines that dictate whether Barbados gets daily flights or loses visibility altogether. She sits across from airline execs and makes the math make sense. She's the reason new routes open. And the reason old ones don't get cut. And when crisis hits, whether it's a global shutdown, a natural disaster, or a PR nightmare, Andrea's the one who steps up first, with a voice that's calm, clear, and credible. She understands that in tourism, confidence sells more than palm trees. And that every moment of doubt can cost millions. Her wealth isn't splashed across magazines. but it's embedded in the billions of tourism dollars she helps attract, protect, and grow. Every guest house, every beachfront wedding, every food tour and sunset cruise. They all pass through the system she built. Andrea Franklin may not wear a crown, but she rules the kingdom of first impressions. And yet, what good is a brilliant campaign if the follow-through fails? The next wife on our list is the enforcer. The woman who makes sure every promise Barbados makes is actually delivered. If Andrea Franklin builds the dream, Cheryl Carter is the one who makes sure it's real. As the Chief Operating Officer of Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, and the former UK Market Director, Cheryl doesn't chase the spotlight. She chases results. She's the woman who takes bold marketing campaigns and turns them into reality. When Barbados promises world-class service, 5-star experiences, and smooth travel, Cheryl makes sure it all happens. She's not in the business of a hope. She's in the business of delivery. Her power lies in execution. She breaks down lofty ideas into checklists, timelines, deadlines, and audits, then personally ensures nothing gets missed. Flights, hotels, events, local vendors. If one piece slips, the entire system cracks. Cheryl doesn't let that happen. She learned the UK market like a science. British travelers are picky, informed, and have hundreds of sunny destinations to choose from. A glossy ad campaign isn't enough. They expect consistency, and Cheryl knew the secret wasn't selling a fantasy, it was delivering exactly what was promised. She built feedback pipelines before they were trendy. Travel agents fed her updates. Social media flagged issues. Hotels shared trends on what guests were really asking for. And if something wasn't landing, she adjusted instantly. She also trained frontline staff to match the message. From the customs officer to the resort bartender, everyone knew. You are the brand. But her influence doesn't stop at service. Cheryl manages partnerships worth millions. She handles co-op marketing agreements with airlines, travel platforms, and international booking agencies. And in a world where contracts fall apart over missed payments or late reports, Cheryl is known for one thing: honoring her word. That's why partners pick up the phone when Barbados calls. Because when Cheryl Carter is involved, things get done right. Her wealth isn't measured in handbags or private jets. It's measured in reputation. And in tourism, reputation is gold. But while Cheryl ensures tourists get what they paid for, the next wife controls something far more critical. She controls the systems that keep the country online, even when the power goes out. You can't see her power. But without her, the entire island would go dark. Natalie Abrahams, CEO of Digicel Barbados, runs the invisible threads that hold modern Barbados together. From hospitals and banks, to schools, hotels, and homes, if it needs a signal, a network, or a stable connection, Natalie is the one keeping the lifeline alive. Think about it. When doctors send digital scans. When students stream online classes. When travelers book hotel rooms or swipe a credit card at a beachside cafe. That's her network at work. In a world driven by data and speed, Natalie doesn't just manage internet access. She manages Barbados's place in the global economy. And she takes resilience seriously. This is the Caribbean. Storms come. Power grids fail. Chaos waits around every corner. But under her leadership, Digicel has invested in battery backups, redundancy systems, and infrastructure upgrades that keep the nation talking, trading, and functioning, even during disaster. When the island's systems stay online while others go dark, that's Natalie's signature. But she's not just serving corporations. Natalie understands the real digital divide. She's built community Wi-Fi hubs, created affordable packages for struggling families, and made sure children don't fall behind just because they can't afford internet. She also handles enterprise clients, hospitals, hotels, banks, with service-level guarantees that deliver confidence and stability. Because one dropped signal in a hospital system could cost lives. One frozen payment terminal could shut down a business. Natalie ensures that doesn't happen. And when the world asks if Barbados is ready to compete globally, Natalie doesn't give a speech. She points to the network she built. Her wealth isn't in watches or yachts. It's in the digital arteries she controls, in the undersea cables she safeguards, and in the entire economy that depends on her decisions. You may never see her face on a billboard. But every voice note, every bank transfer, every online booking that goes through in Barbados carries her name. And while Natalie keeps the systems running, the next wife on our list is all about experience. And she's turned luxury into a science of loyalty, profit, and national pride. She doesn't chase 5-star reviews. She creates them. Gail Talma is a name whispered with respect in the corridors of Barbados's most elite hotels and resorts. She's not just running front desks or managing housekeeping. She's overseeing entire hospitality ecosystems, from golf courses and spas, to event centers and villas that host million-dollar weddings and global retreats. But here's her secret. Gail doesn't just manage rooms. She manages emotions. When guests arrive tired, frustrated, or skeptical, they leave with smiles, stories, and bookings for next year. Why? Because under Gail's leadership, every detail is precision engineered to feel effortless. The rooms are spotless, without you ever seeing a cleaning cart. The meals arrive hot, fresh, and timed to your mood. The staff know your name before you say a word. She trains teams like no one else. Not just to be polite, but to anticipate complaints before they happen. But don't be fooled by her soft touch. Gail reads profit and loss statements as easily as guest reviews. She knows exactly which upgrades matter, and which are just overpriced trends. While some waste money on marble lobbies and gold-plated gimmicks, Gail invests in better beds, smarter tech, and modern plumbing, the things that actually bring people back. Her greatest power, though? She builds people. To Gail, every hotel is a school. Young Barbadians who start in housekeeping or food service under her watch don't just clock in. They learn, they grow, and they climb into management, into operations, into careers that stretch across the Caribbean and beyond. Her alumni now run resorts. They manage destination events. They carry Barbados's hospitality standard across the globe. Her wealth is in her reputation. When her name is attached to a property, it's not just a stay. It's a guarantee. And in a country where tourism makes or breaks the economy, Gail Talma is the woman ensuring it never breaks. But as brilliant as she is at managing experience, there's one wife who stands even higher. Because she doesn't just run one sector.